guys, how's it going? It's Al. They have broken up the slates on DraftKings this weekend. So we have a 2-game slate on Saturday. This is going to be the video where I do the first look for the Saturday slate. The games between the San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks and the Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Los Angeles Chargers. There will be another first look video for the 3-game Sunday slate, and then I'll probably also do a showdown video for the Monday night game between Dallas and Tampa Bay. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate the support all season long, both here and on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel. You guys have been amazing. Obviously, I don't put out as many videos during the playoffs because there's less really to talk about. But I do still put out videos all the way through the Super Bowl, and we will continue doing the 06010 Fantasy Focus podcast on ESPN, the CSS DFS with myself, Michael Clay, and Daniel Dopp, the Secret Squirrel. So look out for all of that content as well as my Best Buys article on ESPN Plus all throughout the playoffs. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
2 games on this slate. We have no listener league this week. Thank you guys for participating in the listener league all year long as well. It'll be back week 1 for next year. So we got 2 games on this slate. Seattle travels to San Francisco. Total is 43. The 49ers are 10-point favorites. That's a lot. Okay, so the higher scoring game, the more competitive game. Chargers versus Jaguars. Total of 47. Chargers favored by 1 point. Let's go into this and dig in game by game, and then we'll kind of click through and build a lineup. The pricing is doable. It's friendly. You can get to the superstars. You can get to some of the fringe players. You're going to have to find somewhere to punt. You can get players that are really solid. 2 quarterbacks that are very cheap and similarly priced. Geno Smith playing as an underdog in this game and against a team where he did throw it 44 times, completed 70% of his passes the last time that they played. And early, and I don't know how viable week 2 is, but like, San Francisco is an extremely tough defense, and we know that Geno has the ability to throw interceptions. They have run him more the second half of the season than the beginning of the season. Like, they've actually started utilizing his legs with a few designed runs. He is scrambling out of the pocket a little bit more recently. He is going to be under duress a lot this weekend. If you believe that San Francisco is going to give up 2-3 touchdowns to the Seattle Seahawks, it is probably unlikely that they will come on the ground. So Ken Walker is a solid play, but if you think that they're going to be playing from behind in San Francisco, road dogs in this one, and massive road dogs. San Francisco jumps out to a lead, and they are forced once again to throw it as often as they throw it in this one. Yeah, Geno stacks make sense. Now, it's a 2-game slate, so all of your rules kind of fall out of play. All the things that we normally do, it's like, hey, we're going to double stack, we're going to bring back, we're not going to play a running back with the quarterback, we're not going to play a defense against the guys that are on the side. No, it's 2-game slate, guys. Right? Short slate rules here. You can break any one of those rules. You're going to end up with game stacks. You just have to have at least one player from both games to make a lineup out. So you can just completely stack this game and then pick one player from the other game, or completely stack the other game and pick one player from this one, because you can't just pick all players from one game. Brock Purdy has been good, if unspectacular, for fantasy purposes, right? Like, he's been good. He had like no floor games, right? Or it's like the old Rich Little joke. Rich Little was an impersonator. Like, I'm showing my age when I say that. But like, what is the ceiling with Brock Purdy, right? Because it feels like he's been solid, multiple touchdowns in every single game that he's been the starter. He's had more than 15.3 DraftKings points in every game that he's been the starter, and he has only scored 21.7 at his peak in a game where they scored 35, 33, 37, 37, 38. He has done a fantastic job of leading this offense, and it's like, the village idiot and the mayor are the same guy. The floor and the ceiling are like the same thing. He's going to score probably between 16 and 20 fantasy points pretty much every single game, unless San Francisco gets into a situation where they're playing from behind, which I do not think is going to happen in week 1 against Seattle, which kind of caps the ceiling on his receivers, which caps the ceiling on Brock Purdy, because he's had multiple touchdowns. He's had 3 touchdowns, and it's efficiency, not scoring, that leads to quarterback fantasy scoring. But like, he is not a candidate to get the 300-yard bonus, specifically not this week as well. He has thrown the ball over 26 times once, and that was against Las Vegas in a game that was a ridiculous shootout that was unpredictable. And even then, he only scored 18 fantasy points. So I don't think that he is the most viable play on this slate. He is viable if the other plays blow up, but I think that the quarterbacks have to come from the other game. Looking at the running backs in this game, Christian McCaffrey, 8,500. I do think that you can fit him on the 2-game slate. If you're playing the 5-game slate, if you're playing the entire weekend, it's going to be much tougher. He's been tremendous. The people who said that he was not good anymore, that he was injury prone, that he wasn't going to play, that he was going to get hurt and you couldn't draft him, they're in shambles at this point. Averaged 21.8 DraftKings points per game, scored 14 touchdowns, played every single game, and kind of got throttled down against Arizona in week 18 because they didn't need him. They are going to play the hell out of him this week, and Seattle is susceptible, right? They are just kind of susceptible to stuff, and he is good at the stuff, so I kind of feel like you're going to want to play Christian McCaffrey. I'm just going to plug him into this lineup. Yes, Mitchell and Mason got in there and vultured touchdowns last week. Well, his got called back in that situation. They were up big. They were locked into their spot, and they weren't going to continue to risk Christian McCaffrey. He'll get his 20+ opportunities in this game and is likely a favorite to score. If you want to go completely off the reservation, guys like Dallas, guys like Mason or Eli Mitchell, fine, but I don't think you really need to unless you're cycling through 150 lineups, and I'm focusing on kind of one lineup in this spot. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. If you're building through Geno, you're going to build through these two guys right here. And also, I do think that Parkinson is a very good punt. He's 2,500. If you're looking to stuff that one extra guy into a lineup, you can pay down to get him, but you're going to see that the pricing is so uber friendly at the tight end position this week that like he may not be necessary. If he wanders into the end zone like he did against the New York Jets a couple of weeks ago, he absolutely smashes, but he's had a good enough snap and route running floor. And when they get close to the goal line, he is certainly in play, as everybody is going to work to kind of shut down Metcalf and Lockett on the other side. Brandon Ayuk has seen a bit of a revival in the absence of Deebo Samuel, but Deebo Samuel comes back this week, and now like he played in week 18, and he is going to be back in full throat for this weekend's games in the playoffs. And now you have a fully operational battle station for the San Francisco 49ers offense with Kittle, Ayuk, Samuel, and 20 to 25 opportunities for Christian McCaffrey, which George Kittle's been fantastic recently. You know, 7 touchdowns in 4 games is good for anyone. For a tight end, it's absolutely absurd. But like, take these 3 touchdowns away, 2 last week, and he would have had 6.9 points, which is nice, but from a DraftKings perspective, not as nice. And in this game against Las Vegas, take those 6 points away, and he has 6.3. So he's not getting a lot of usage except for this one game against Washington where he caught 6 balls for 120 and 2 touchdowns. He's been very touchdown reliant the last few weeks, and while that doesn't seem to be something that will be as sticky moving forward, especially considering this game against Arizona, they were just touchdown funnel for opposing tight ends. Unless you're playing Brock Purdy triples to think that they're going to score 40 or 45 points, and it's going to be 6 touchdowns in this game, and maybe Purdy has 4 of them, and they come through the air, and you're going to fade McCaffrey to leverage off of the chalk that he's going to be on this 2-game slate. He's really the only guy that I want from this game for this particular lineup. I'm going to plug the Seahawks defense in here, not because Purdy's been bad, but because defense is completely random. They're very, very cheap. He has thrown 2 interceptions. Anybody can get a sack fumble or a strip fumble that gets returned for a touchdown. Kick returns return for a touchdown. They don't have to do that much at 2,400, and they allow me access to everything that I want from the Chargers, Jacksonville. The price for Purdy and the price for Geno Smith was like 55 and 60, 5,600. Trevor Lawrence is 5,700. Like, I know that he's up and down, right? He hasn't had 2 good weeks, but that's when I want to jump back on the train, right? When everybody else says he can't is when I want to jump on the train and say he can. Houston is a team that did not give up a lot of passing yards this year, not because they're good at defending the pass, but they were just so horrific at stopping the run that teams didn't ever have to throw against them. You could get 5 yards a rip plus if you just ran the football, and then you were playing from ahead the majority of the time, as Houston played from behind more snaps than any team this season. So teams just didn't need to throw the ball. It's not like he was bad against him. He completed 81% of his passes. They just abandoned the pass because they didn't have to throw it. They were up 31-3 in this game before you could say jump. But at games that were closer, Dallas, Tennessee, Baltimore, we've seen what Trevor Lawrence can do in terms of efficiency, in terms of getting the 300-yard bonus, having reliable pass catchers who are running routes that lead to very simple situations for completions, yards, touchdowns. We've seen them ceiling from Evan Ingram to Zay Jones to Christian Kirk. Now, picking which one it's going to be, I don't know, but I also want to get Travis Etienne in here because he's only 6,000 going up against the Chargers, who has been a team that we have wanted to stream opposing running backs against all season long. Against Houston, 9 carries for 108. And then they kind of sat him, had 32 yards receiving. He has shown big playability in the passing game. They just don't utilize him all that much in that manner, even though he has a massive talent for it. And Tennessee is a pass funnel, and this Jacksonville offense looked terrible against them last week. The Chargers are not as good at defense. I think that we can stack the hell out of this game and get somebody like Zay Jones in here, who's only 43. This is where the value comes into play. 4,300 for him coming off of 3 bad weeks, but we've seen the ceiling weeks from him before, and I'm building a tournament lineup. If you want to pay up to get Christian Kirk, I'm fine with that. We also have to monitor the Mike Williams situation, who left last game that he never should have been playing in the first freaking place with back spasms. I know how bad those can be. I've had back spasms before in my life. They suck. If he can go this week, he's going to go. If he can't go this week, that opens up a little bit of a discount for Joshua Palmer, but it also thrusts DeAndre Carter into a higher snap and route and target share than he would be without, as primarily a kick returner. But if Keenan Allen's the 1 and Josh Palmer's operating on the outside as 2, that puts DeAndre Carter into the slot at 3,600. Keenan Allen into the slot and him in the outside. They kind of rotate around, and he's going to run a lot of deep routes and be there. Keenan Allen has been a target machine his entire career. That continues now. We saw him get into the end zone twice last week and do kind of I don't know what dance that was. It was interesting. It was very interesting. Tight end staying in this game. Evan Ingram's been very, very good at tight end this whole month here. These 4 games, week 13 to 16, he was averaging more points during that stretch than Travis Kelce has averaged this year on the season. He was essentially the tight end 1. Again, 2 back-to-back weeks. Against Houston, where they didn't throw the ball. Against Tennessee, where they should have thrown the ball, but were trying to run the hell out of it stupidly, and got themselves into a weird situation in that game. I think Evan Ingram sees a big bounce back in this game, and he's only 4,200, leaves me 8,300. Guess who I can afford? The man who had 18 touchdowns this year, the man who is completely involved in the passing game at running back, giving him a very, very high floor, 8,100. This lineup is gross. Yes, I had to punt off defense, but defense is highly variant. Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, Zay Jones, Carter, Allen, Ingram, Eckler, Seahawks D. I wish you guys the best of luck. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.